Hi, good morning, everyone. Okay. The purpose of this live is to talk about the treatment of Black transgender people and also people of color within the justice system, how we are treated. So I'm only going to tell you from my experience. I can't talk about anyone else, their experience. I can only speak on my own and from what I know and I've seen and I've experienced myself. So, um, the first thing is when the police see a black person or a person of color, the first thing that it seems like that comes to their mind is criminal, and that is not always the case. We can be victims too, and they do not tend to see that a lot. So we're constantly being judged by how we look. You got tattoos, piercings, or whatever the case may be. Gold grill, whatever, dress. All those things with people of color or black people. It is an issue with the police because we're not sticking to that little bitty structure that have clean cuts and suits. And the crazy thing is, I feel as if people should be able to wear whatever they want to wear or have a haircut or as many tattoos as they like. That's something, that's a personal decision that person made. And, but the thing is, that's one of the things that they judge you by. You know, a cop pull up and see me parked outside of my apartment. He's going to, in his mind, I look suspicious while I'm parked outside. So he's going to get out of his car and he's going to question me. Um, So then we go from that to actually being inside of a jail or a prison system. Now, being inside of the prison system um, is a lot different from being inside of a jail, a county jail. Um, some people don't know, but I'm from the deep south, so it's very small, and some of the people I would say are very undereducated, and they don't know a lot about trans people, people of color. There's a lot of things that they just don't know anything about. And when they don't know something about whatever it may be, it tends to make them afraid. And then they make these decisions based off of that fear, not off of actually getting to know a person or figuring out what the actual situation is. So that tends to cause problems too. So, now we're going to get into the actual prison part. We're just going to bypass the whole jail part. We're just going to go straight to the issues that trans people and people of color face inside the prisons. Once you're inside of the prisons, you're actually known as state property. They will tell you that once you enter the gates and you're on their property, they're letting you know, off the jump, hey, your state property is what we say. We tell you to go to bed. That's when you go to bed. We tell you to eat. That's when you eat. But the problem with that is, I mean, I understand that prison is supposed to, I guess, in some ways rehabilitate a person, but that doesn't always happen. Because in a lot of the prisons, they're either understaffed, or most of them are understaffed, underpaid, and the people just generally don't care about the job they're supposed to do, whether it's a correction officer or teacher or nurse, because they do have those inside of the prison systems. They have nurses, they have doctors, they have teachers for general education, which is GED. They have like a GED prep and all that stuff. But the problem is when they don't have the proper training to actually communicate effectively with another person, that causes a problem. Because my biggest issue when I was inside was um, they did not like to use the proper pronouns. And that really upset me and pissed me off because if I can address you the way that you would like to be addressed, I would feel much better if you could do the same for me. And that just wasn't the case. Um, Also, transgender people have issues with housing when they're incarcerated because sometimes they tend to try to segregate us from the rest of the population, which is not cool. So sometimes they would end up putting us in solitary confinement, which is you're locked in a dorm, but everyone that's in that dorm is actually locked behind the door, and you're locked down for 23 hours a day. You get out for an hour, which is really not an hour. And that hour includes your time to take a shower and then to go outside, which is another fenced in little area, and you're inside of an actual cage. It's a very small area, and that is, that's pretty much solitary confinement. Being in the hole, that's what there is. It's just you being locked inside of a building and can't come out, but you're locked in the building, and you're also locked behind another door. And you have 23-hour lockdown, and you have 1 hour out a day. They do bring books by. Sometimes it depends on, like I said, it all depends on the officer, because sometimes they will push a little book cart by, and if you're on the bottom section, which is just regular segregation, and isolation is on the top tier, so you have an option to get a book. But sometimes that doesn't always happen because either the officers are too busy, or they just don't really feel like being bothered with giving you a book to read. And that's pretty much the only thing that you can do when you're in lockdown. So one of the issues that is faced by trans people in Georgia, in the prison system here, is they don't have access to proper health care, because no one has the training to be able to actually diagnose a person with gender dysphoria and treat them. Um, we the thing is, when you're in prison, you have to go through mental health first, to even get that. To go through mental health, you go for a couple weeks, different sessions. During those sessions, you actually have to go and speak with a doctor, and it's up to him to decide if you have gender dysphoria or not, or gender or GID, gender identity disorder. I'm probably said that wrong, but anyway, so you go and you have those sessions with the doctor. He then says, okay, yeah, this person has this. So then they will send the person back to the medical facility, which is in the same prison. Medical would then talk to the individual, set up an appointment with outside doctor, which is also at another prison. Um, so they will have to go to the other prison to even be seen. But the problem with that is it's always a long wait between having to see the doctors inside of the prison that the person is at versus seeing the doctor at the other prison. And a lot of the times the nurses don't actually send in the paperwork because they just really don't care to do it because of their beliefs. They believe that um, by being on hormones, it's the wrong thing. You're going to go to hell for it. You know, I've actually had a nurse pretty much say that to me in so many words. And for me, it was like, at what point do you realize that I'm going to make whatever decisions I choose to make, and there's nothing you can do about it? I'm going to do what makes me feel comfortable, and that's just going to be that. Um, so that's that. Um, let's see. Another issue is getting the meds on time. Once you go through the doctors and uh, the medical, and you go to your appointments, actually getting the meds on time has been an issue also, and getting gender affirming undergarments and personal hygiene products. Also, hair care. So if the guys want to get a haircut, the trans guys would like to get a haircut. And for those who don't know, when I say trans guys, I mean female to male. Uh, so that would be trans guys. If they want to get a haircut, they're not able to do so because the prison doesn't allow it. Haircuts are not for the female prisoners. Um, but it was a law change, and the prisons decided not to go with it because they have their own SOP, which is of operation, standard operation. Okay, so yeah, so that's the crazy part about that. So yeah, so if you're inside of a prison, or you know someone inside of a prison that may be transgender or even gender non-conforming, and they're having issues as far as health care, the proper clothing, or whatever it may be, I think it would be a really good idea for you to reach out to those people, because it is a very stressful situation. It can cause a person who has low self esteem, or who is just depressed, suffer from depression. And a lot of people suffer from depression. Me, I actually suffer from depression. So I know how it is, and I have experienced the extreme highs and the extreme lows because I have manic depression. So I know exactly how that is, and it's something that I'm not afraid to talk about because it's true, and people need to know that life goes on. You can still do everything you need to do, but for those people that are on the inside that already feel as if they have no control over anything, it is good to have some type of outside contact with people who are willing to help and just give the guidance that is needed, and to help kind of encourage and push them to do whatever it is that they need to do to better themselves and to feel more comfortable, because there's nothing worse than being in a place that you really don't want to be in, and you already don't feel comfortable in your skin, and it's just a constant thing every day. And by the constant disrespect from the officers, other inmates, that can really push a person to the edge, because it happens. Um, people say things that are not necessarily true. People say hurtful things to other people all the time, and it's very sad, but it still happens every day. I know for myself, people would assume things or ask me questions, and I'm one of those people. I don't have a problem answering questions. It's just that they would ask crazy questions like, did you grow a dick? And I'm looking like, what? Where did that come from? Like, so it's like you have to kind of keep people encouraged that are inside, that you may be close to, even if it's family members or friends that you have had. So just try to keep them encouraged, because it's very hard being on the inside versus being here on the outside, because it is a very depressing place. No matter how they try to, paint it with that orange is black, which I haven't seen it and I don't intend on seeing it. But the thing is that it's not how they show it on TV. Sometimes it's good and there it's okay. You know, that's probably one of those days where it's not as many fights as the day before, and sometimes it's really bad to where we're being locked down, or we're being threatened pretty much by the officers, and they tell us that they're not supposed to retaliate against us. It's in the if you write a grievance and the officer retaliates against you, they're not supposed to do that. Well, in these prisons, if you don't have anybody on the outside, the prison doesn't care, and they do that. Not saying that it's always on the prison officials, because sometimes it is on the individuals inside of those prisons, the inmates. Which I don't like to say that, because I hate it being called an inmate or an offender. I hated that. But sometimes it's not always the officers. Sometimes it's the people that the officers are watching. But in the cases that I've seen myself personally, most fault, I would say, laid in the hands of the officers, because of they weren't professional, and they didn't have the proper communication skills to be able to de-escalate a situation before things got too far. Instead of trying to de-escalate situations, I've often seen where they would pretty much hype it up, and it could have been so easily de-escalated, but instead they hype it up. They they bring more heat to it. They make it harder than it has to be when it could have just been as simple as, hey, you come with me, you go back down there and do whatever it was you was doing. Instead, it's like, oh, well, you gonna let her talk to you like that? And it's like sometimes we have to figure out like where do we draw the line? Where do we, as a people, decide? Okay, you know what? It's time for me to grow up. It's time for me to do exactly what it is I need to do. And a lot of those people in that particular job field hasn't reached that point of maturity to where they can actually sit there and say that I'm going to I'm going to do what I'm getting paid to do. And I'm also going to make sure that when I have a conversation with another person, I'm saying exactly what it is that needs to be said respectfully. I'm going to respect that person and their decisions and hope that they do the same, because it was several officers that I can actually say that if anything would have popped off or anything would have happened, I would have had their side versus the people that I have to live with side, honestly, because those were the people that knew how to treat people. They knew how to talk to you. You know, they see you having a bad day, or they can just look at you and see that something is wrong because they genuinely care about people. And there were some people that were just like that, that could actually see the pain that you carry when you just hide it so well. You still smile, but they just know that's not you. They know, like they could tell. And those were the people. And I've even told them, if anything ever happened and I'm around, you ain't got to worry about nothing. And that's just because they made me feel safe. They made me feel like a person. They respected me and my decisions. And they also put me in my place when I needed to be put in my place. When I would, I guess, get beside myself. And they had to remind me, that hey, look where you're at right now. This is not the end that you want for yourself. You have to remember what it is that you want so that you can have that. And sometimes I needed that reminder, because sometimes if I got really upset or angry about something, then I seemed to lose focus on what was really important. And what was really important for me was getting home to my family and getting outside of that place and to be able to do the work so I can help some of those people still inside of that place now. And I would lose focus on that when I would get angry. So that was something that I had to work on and that I had to be reminded of at certain points in times. And I'm thankful for that, to those people who did help me to see that, sometimes you have to just think about the bigger picture. Because I realized that when I would get angry, I didn't focus on the bigger picture. I was just angry, you know. So seeing the bigger picture in all of this is the things that we were once taught sometimes is not always true. And I say that because if my upbringing, if I allowed that to just guide me my entire life, then I would not be happy at this present moment, because I would be pretending to be happy being someone else, because I wouldn't be able to truly be myself. So I encourage people to, if you have kids or nieces, nephews, whatever, you encourage those kids to just be their self. Don't judge them. Just allow them to be their self, especially black people and people of color. You be that support. You encourage those kids, and you let them know that hey, it may look like this today, but you never know what your future may hold. All you have to do is believe and move forward, and once you do that, things will be a whole lot better. It's not going to happen overnight. Like nothing ever happens just overnight. Like you don't just wake up one day and like, oh yeah, everything's just perfect today. It doesn't happen like that. It takes work, it takes time, it takes patience, it takes a lot. And sometimes people don't want to put in all that work, so they just settle. But the thing is to stop settling and start actually putting in that work. Once you start putting in that work, you'll start seeing it. And once you start seeing it, you'll feel a whole lot better about your situation. And once you start to feel better about it, then that's when you can be like, you know what? I see things are really moving up right now. I'm going in the direction that I want to go in. And you'll be a lot happier about yourself, about your situation, whatever is going on in your life, you'll be happy. But the first thing is to realize what it is you have going on. Accept the fact that some things you cannot change, some things you can change. Once you know that and you start doing whatever it is you need to do, just stop talking about it and you start actually putting in that work, you'll see a difference. Things will be a whole lot better. And that's just what I want to leave you all with today. So this was my part one of my video today, and I look forward to seeing you all later. So everybody be safe, and remember, if you go out, to wear a mask, and I will talk to you soon.